Greetings. Welcome to Couch Critics. First installment, by the way. Dennis P. Just sitting there on my couch, complaints department, and musings on football. Where do we start? Chelsea, Arsenal, Stamford Bridge tomorrow. What a fixture! One that one of the most anticipated fixtures on the calendar season. And it's definitely one that satisfies the hunger of footy fans all over the world, or at least has the potential to. When you look at the history of these two clubs, I would say that both clubs are probably at a bit of a crossroads right now, which makes for extra intrigue into this particular fixture. Chelsea, obviously, trying to implement a new system under Maurizio Sarri. One that is, he popularized at Empoli and again at Napoli, which is possession-based football and requires a lot of, one-two touch football. One that is definitely in vogue in European football today. And Unai Emery on the other side of the ledger, who is taking over at Arsenal. Taken over for Arsene Wenger, who I actually think has the easiest job of the two when you think about it, because Wenger, for the 22 years that he was there, was always looking to play the same sort of philosophy that Unai is trying to implement here, with obviously a couple small caveats. One being, obviously, he wants to, play out from the back, which is obviously, part of modern football right now. And he wants to press high, which I don't think Arsenal had ever been adept at doing in Arsene's tenure. But we'll see how that goes. I don't think that either of them are going to have the easy time implementing their systems, mainly because I think there's holes on both sides of this, in both squads, in terms of how they want to play. So it's going to be a work in progress. For Maurizio, I think where the problem areas exist is in wide areas. Not exactly the wingers like your Hazards, your Williams, Pedros, Hudson-Odois, whatnot, but I think the overlapping fullback role will be a bit of a struggle if they want to play a more possession-based attacking football. And what I mean by that is Alonso, while he's great, hits a great free kick and always finds himself in amongst the goals. I don't think that he's the best option for attacking-based, possession-based football. It's quite slow, doesn't really offer much in the overlap, and his technique is clearly it's just not up to snuff, let's just be honest. It leaves something to be desired there. In terms of, he will overlap and he will provide an outlet for a set like a Hazard or whatever, but what is he going to do with the ball once he gets it? Let's be honest, he's not really one who's going to take on an opposing fullback or a winger, or he's not going to put in a telling ball that leads to a goal scoring opportunity. He's more the kind of guy that you want to see get on the end of these opportunities. Like, he's decent in the air, as I said, and obviously a great finisher. I'd actually wouldn't even mind seeing him in the striking role. Decent size, great finisher, and good in the air. But anyways, I just don't think that in wide areas he provides a lot of linking or continuity in attack. Doesn't really give the defenders much to think about, in my opinion. And on the other side, you have Azpilicueta, who for my money is probably one of the best one-on-one defenders in the world, but definitely has his limitations going forward. And in this particular system, I think you need to be able to, overlap on the wingers and provide them with an outlet, a threat first of all, a threat going forward, like someone that can, either use his ability to run off of guys and impose himself in the box, or overlap and provide an option for the wingers just in wide areas. And while he is adept at putting in early crosses, we saw that last year with Morata being the recipient on many of his early his goals in the season came from early crosses from Morata or from Azpilicueta. I just don't think that he offers the modern fullback sort of like winger ability with defensive acumen. Like, he's got the defensive aspects down, but I just don't think that he thinks the game in an attacking sense the way that you want from your modern day fullback. Yeah, so that might be an area where they might look to address. And again, like that, who's to say that like somebody like Emerson might not play a part in defining that role at the club. Again, and having said that, like don't get it twisted. I understand that Alonso has he's an asset to the club for more reasons than just his free kicks and his goal scoring ability. He, like, over the year, like it seems like this year Chelsea's kind of like adopted this more diminutive sort of like quicker passing type squad, and in that we lack height, we lack aerial presence, and in that respect I think Alonso is invaluable. He's decent in the air, like I said, and with this idea of playing out from the back, he provides an outlet ball on the flank. Say teams press up, the one of the soft areas in any particular press would be in wide areas, and he provides the ability to bring the ball down and start playing from there. So he definitely has his advantages to the system, but I don't know if it outweighs the cons, especially because he's not really a great defender either. So I don't know. That's a work in progress for me, but we'll see how that goes. They have made a few key acquisitions that will help implement this style, and without question, I think the signing of Jorginho was so crucial. Like, I can't even imagine what this team would look like without him right now. I don't even want to. I shudder to think, really, because he is the brain of the team. He's going to allow others to get to do less thinking and more just like reacting to situations on the pitch, which I think is very crucial when you're playing like one touch quick football. Like he'll be the guy basically dictating the tempo and the move. Basically, he'll be the one that's the brain of the team. Like I guess they call him the regista, the guy that's like actually at the fulcrum of the team. And I don't think that you can find one that's better. Like, he obviously, you can tell like just by watching him the limited time that I've seen him at Napoli and again here in preseason in Chelsea, he thinks the game extremely quickly. Like, he sees moves 2 and 3 moves ahead, and I think that sort of like thinking is what you need in this sort of like regista role, where deep lying playmaker or whatever you want to call it. Like, he thinks very quickly, and I think that Sarri actually touched on that in his presser when he mentioned why he wanted him at the team. And that sort of like quickness of thought is what's needed in the midfield. Not just that, but like I think that's an important adage, an important quality to have, coupled with, of course, excellent passing range and ball retention, as well as composure, which he possesses in droves. So yeah, you have him, and then you go out and you also acquire a Mateo Kovacic, who I think is again a great ad for this system. Hasn't played yet, but again, if I'm basically basing my opinion on him on what I saw from him at Inter Milan, not so much at Real Madrid, because I think that he kind of took a step back while at Madrid, just because he hasn't really played a lot of football. But if he comes back, if he comes to Chelsea and he's anything like the player that he was at Inter, man, it's the prospects going forward look very, very, very promising. And even as I say this, like you look at that midfield right now, and you would struggle to find a more complete midfield in definitely in the Prem, and certainly in world football, I would say as well. When you look at the likes of Kovacic, if it's the Kovacic that I'm expecting, we're going to get Jorginho and of course Kante, and yeah, of course, world football, you have like midfield threes that are obviously much more depth and better essentially. But like I don't know if you can find the same sort of quality and depth in the midfield elsewhere. Like when you look at Ross Barkley coming off the bench or possibly even starting, like he's definitely staked a claim for that in preseason. Needs more end product and needs to think the game a bit better, but he's going to be in and amongst it for sure. Cesc Fabregas, and also Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's coming off a decent loan spell at Crystal Palace. For my money, I think he needs to assert himself a bit more and impose himself on the game. But again, as an option off the bench or an impact sub kind of guy, I can definitely see him fulfilling a role there. And I still think that you would struggle to find six midfielders that fit the qualities that Chelsea have at their disposal right now. And having said that, like that to me is, the most important position on the pitch when you are implementing this sort of like possession-based like footballing system. And it's very demanding. So having six guys. I'm not including Danny Drinkwater. I think he'll struggle to get minutes, but having six guys that can actually play this system and play it effectively can only be an advantage at this point. It's the other areas I think that Chelsea are going to have a bit of a hard time playing this style. And I'm not speaking specifically of the likes of like Eden Hazard and like Willian and like Pedro, who seem to be highly capable of playing this style. I'm speaking more about your center back pairing and also perhaps even at striker. Yeah, like, and again, like even with David Luiz, I don't think that David Luiz. I think this is a system that he's comfortable playing, but I just don't think that he thinks the game as fast as you would like him to, or thinks the game as well as you would like him to from a deep line playmaker's perspective. Like, as well as he does pass the ball, and short pass, long pass, he was fantastic against Huddersfield, his distribution and whatnot, and the way he imposed himself on the game. But I still think that like his decision making, the quickness of the decisions that need to be made when you're playing this sort of system, needs to be quicker. And I don't know if he's got the quite sort of he doesn't have quite the mindset to play the tempo that is needed to play this style effectively. So I think there needs to be an upgrade there. I center back in general, I think they need upgrades there. I don't think that like any of the center backs that we have right now have the qualities, possess the qualities to really make the system work. Like I don't think that as much as Christensen had a decent season last year. I think he made a lot of mistakes. I also think that his concentration levels are not quite at elite Premier League standard. Like he's a very good center back. He's young. He's got a lot to learn, but he also has limitations in his game, and one of them is definitely not passing and composure on the ball. So he can definitely play the system based on his passing ability and like his composure. But in terms of fighting, like you still have to defend, and I don't know if he's the best he's definitely not combative enough in the defensive third to play an effective role as a ball playing center back in the Premier League. Like, I think people can and have sort of picked on him aerially in particular, and I also think that he needs just an edge of aggression to really excel and become that next level. In Rudiger, I think his limitations come in that he's got, like, I think he relies on his natural, like his natural speed and his his physical tools more so than his ability to think the game. Like, his reaction time to me is slow, very, very slow. He doesn't necessarily see danger at the same pace as, say, somebody like, again, bad example, but say like somebody like a John Terry, how he snuffs out danger. And I think that he relies on his athleticism to bail him out of situations where he is slow to react. But that athleticism doesn't necessarily benefit you in the defensive third. Like, if there's an attacking move coming and your reaction time is slow, you're likely to get punished. So I like Rudiger. I think he's a likable player. I just don't think that he's the ideal solution at center back, nor do I think David Luiz Christensen, and I definitely don't think Gary Cahill is at all. So there's definitely Ampadu looks like he's going to be nice, though, I must say. Ampadu obviously needs to mature physically, but like everything else, he looks like he's going to be a player. I think in order for Chelsea to play well this season, they need to have that midfield dominate games for them, and they have the capability of doing that. If we see Jorginho, and the thing that we struggled with in the first half against Huddersfield was the fact that Jorginho was basically marked out of the game by Pritchard, and it was all the playmaking was left to the slower thinking David Luiz, who wasn't really intent on breaking lines with passes. He was basically very comfortable with just like keeping possession rather than like making that incisive pass. In the first half, in the second half, I think his mentality changed a lot, and he saw a lot more forward like line breaking passes into the forwards, into the attacking midfielders, and it made a huge difference. But I think the first half we struggled mainly because Jorginho couldn't get on the ball, and as a result we struggled to find the tempo to play at. So as I said, like, I think for Chelsea to be successful, they're going to have to find that midfield balance, where if Jorginho is not marked out of the game, then one of Ross Barkley or Kovacic or Kante have to provide themselves as an outlet to get the team playing again. And yes, David Luiz is very capable in a deep lying playmaker role, but I still think that going forward we're going to need one of our other midfielders to play a part in building attacks as well as getting on the end of them as well. I think Barkley struggled to get into the game, and the reason for me was that he didn't provide himself as an option for the pass. He was almost hiding the game. I didn't see him come and demand the ball in attacking areas. Did have that nice one flick to send through Alonso, which was nice to see, but I think he needs to have more of an imposing presence on the pitch. Just personality-wise, I guess, is mainly where he needs to assert himself a bit more. Could be a nice player though. So yeah, I think that is the area of the pitch where Chelsea will have to look to dominate tomorrow, because up front, as far as striker goes, I still think there's question marks about Morata. I do think that he has the capability of getting at somebody like Mustafi or even Socrates. So there is the potential there for him to have a decent game if if he's if he's up for it, and like he if he's up for it, mainly like just get some confidence, bro. Seriously, it's just get some confidence, man. Like just shoot on target, get a shot on target first. That would be the first step. Shoot on target, and then allow the game to come to you from there. His mentality, his game mentality to me is just poor. But having said that, I do think that that back four and the uncertainty of their ability to play out from the back could lead to opportunities for him to get in and make a mark. Yeah, and on the other side, I think what Chelsea have to be cognizant of and wary of is the threat of the counter, because I don't think that like Arsenal is going to they're not going to be in possession of the football as much as Chelsea, obviously. So they're likely going to be looking to get out on the counter and exploit the lack of pace that we possess in the back line. A man like Aubameyang is definitely somebody that would benefit from playing on the shoulder of the defenders and just using his pace to get in behind, because the way Chelsea are playing right now with this extremely high line, a man like Aubameyang or even like Lacazette for that matter can definitely, Bellerin on the right flank can definitely make use of the space in behind and pose some threats in the attacking sense. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what actually transpires. Like if Chelsea can actually dominate and keep and play defensively by keeping the ball essentially and not allowing Arsenal to produce turnovers and then hit them quickly on the counter. I think the pressing game is also one where both teams are still trying to work in progress, and it might be a case where whoever actually wins that battle may actually may end up winning the game, because if Chelsea don't pass out from the back effectively while being pressed, it could also lead to mistakes there, and I see the potential for that. But I also see it at the other end. If we press them effectively, there's definitely mistakes at that back. Like I don't think that they've assembled the right sort of ball players in the back to allow them to play out effectively. They got Torreira, who I think can help in that respect, but I don't know if like again, if you mark him out of the game, then where else do you go with the ball? You know what I mean? I guess Ramsey is another option that they may have, but they're a bit bereft, especially in the back four, of guys that are comfortable on the ball enough to dictate dictate attacking move, or even just like be comfortable enough to play out from the back. So I would say that's the key to the match right now, pressing and playing out from the back for both teams, and we'll see how that goes. But wrap it up there, and this is my first one, so tell me what you think. I'm saying Chelsea's going to take this one 2-0, and I would say goal scorers, I'm hoping Morata. I can't really depend on that though, but I'm going to say Willian, and if Barkley starts, it'll be him. If not, then it'll be Eden Hazard off the bench. So I expect him in a cameo, maybe a 30-minute cameo, as well as Kovacic in a 30-minute cameo. Yeah. Tune in the next time. I'm going to be doing these every game, so hopefully it gets more interesting with time. Peace.